So welcome everyone to this HELTASA online conversation, Thinking Beyond Technology when Teaching Remotely. I'm Nicola Pallet from Rhodes University, and my colleagues Alana Riley and Neil Crum, we actually wrote a little think piece that we've asked you to engage with and share what resonates with you. So rather than, I think, throwing you in the deep end, I think I'm going to hand over to Alana to say a few words around how things are going at Fort Hare, and then Neil, and if you want to share what's been resonating with you, and for our colleagues just joining us, maybe you want to have a think about it and then jump in the conversation.
Thank you, Nicola. Morning, everyone. I'm so excited to see so many people have joined today. From a Fort Hare perspective, this has been quite a shock to the system. We've had previously, before the mandated move online, we had probably about 60% of our undergraduate courses that were had a semblance of a presence online. A handful had been using the technology to really engage the students. And so at the moment, there is a little bit of a scramble just to get everyone online and to try and think differently about how we are doing things. When we looked at the challenges with regards to this, we particularly wanted to engage with people on how stressful this is and how we can possibly think about this in a humanizing way, as opposed to a drive to push everyone to be fully online in the same way as we teach on a face-to-face basis. Nicola?
Hi guys, sorry, we might have lost Nicola there for a second. Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit of Zooming together, so yeah, there she's back. She just had to change to a different device. Challenges are real. Nicola, are you back?
I'm back, thanks Neil.
Okay. Okay, so Nicola, sorry, while you were gone, Ilana just explains their experience. I'm just going to maybe take 2 seconds to just reflect what my experience has been. Is that, you know, I think there's a lot of anxiety floating around shifting online, and I think there's at the moment in a lot of institutions more questions than answers. And I think we just have to try and accept that that is going to be the position from now until the 20th at least. And I think we're going to have a lot more questions coming up the closer we get to 20 April in any case. So yeah, I think it's been this very, I want to say interesting but weird space. But Nicola, I'm going to hand over to you again.
Thank you, Neil. So I think if folks want to talk, and we've asked you to engage with the little think piece. If you want to say something, maybe type M into the text chat and unmute your, and we'll give you the chance to unmute your mic, and tell us about what resonated for you. So let's see who's going to give it a go and share their perspective. And maybe Daniela? do you want to hop in?
Sorry, I just joined, so I'm not sure where we are. Maybe somebody else can go first.
Okay, cool, no problem. Tony, go for it.
Okay, I think what I want to say is that I love the humanity and realism of the think piece. That there's a complete recognition of the difficulties of the current situation at every single level, and that these difficulties are for both students and for lecturers. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, indeed, and it's not ideal for anyone. And I think that's kind of, I think it's something that we're all recognizing at our various institutions. Who would like to take the mic next?
Hi, Nicola. This is Johan Kutsia from the University of the Free State. And I think one thing that I pick up specifically in the piece that you have sent out to us, and that I definitely see currently on specifically then on Facebook, that so many people is advertising specific ways to do online teaching and learning. And together with that, your own institution have sent out a lot of things. So I think the big thing of the bigger, well, a huge problem, rather state like that, is the fact that you are starting to getting overwhelmed with everything that is possible to be done, and then compare that to your personal skills and possibilities that you can do. And I think that brings along a lot of anxiety with people and with us as lecturers. And then on the other hand, as I said, with the students, I think the fact that they don't know what's going to happen. I experienced it this week already. On Sunday evening, I received an email from a student asking me what's going to happen with the test that they were supposed to write this week. And yeah, so that is what just what I want to say at this moment.
Yeah, I totally recognize that. Maybe Neil, you want to say something in response?
Hi everyone, sorry, my connection's a bit choppy, so you might lose me. But yeah, I think that's one of the big issues, is that, you know, we've got a lot of questions, and different institutions have different challenges. You know, I've spoken to colleagues that are still stuck in the zero-rated debates. How will that work out? Will that be equitable enough? And there's just so much happening outside. You know, I'm part of a lot of, you know, groups on Facebook, and everybody brings out, oh, don't be hard on yourself. This is the time to go onto e-learning platforms. And I mean, then there's just the sheer amount of people that want to sell stuff now. Or they want to grab you with a freemium type of product. Yeah, take it for 3 months, and then, you know, let's incorporate that into what we're doing, which I think is noble, but it's also, it muddies the water. So I think there is just this overwhelming amount of information out there, and, you know, how do we sift through that, and what's going to be practical is going to be a key skill that we need to think about. So yeah. Over to you, Nicola.
Alana, do you want to also say something? And then perhaps we can have H. Dippenaar.
Thank you, Nicola. Definitely the question of trying to find a solution or a solutionist approach is coming through quite strongly. But what has resonated with me is that is that there is no one size fits all, and trying different things with the tools that we have available to us in a low tech kind of way, so that we don't minimize the issues that we have. I mean, most of our students, a large portion of the Fort Hare students, and I know that Rhodes, Nelson Mandela University, and a lot of other institutions that fall within the same category have that issue, is that a large proportion of our students are sitting in a fairly rural setting at the moment, and we are asking them to have a similar sort of experience, even with a zero rated data approach. And I don't think that that's necessarily practical. So going low tech is, I think, is very important. And the concept of what are we going to do about, exam entrance and assessments, perhaps is something that needs to be put on the back burner for the moment, while we just take a step back and try and get everybody on the same page at least.
Thanks, Alana. Definitely, one size doesn't fit all. M. Dippenaar, you want to take the mic, and then we'll have Jane and Greg.
Thank you so much, Andy Dippenaar, CPUT Wellington. I just want to start off by saying I've had 2 Zoom meetings with some of my smaller groups, and the one thing that had made a huge impression on me was the faces of my students. They're all anxious, they're all eager to connect, they're all eager to see one another, and they want to get started, and they're very nervous about the academic year, especially the final year students. What I foresee is a problem with access. Not all the students have access, but then on the other hand, they now don't have to travel, and they should get their residence money back or something, so that they have money for data, because that would be essential for us to make this work. I'm also worried about the standards of assessments. How do we make sure that we don't deviate from our standards? And how do we also address our work integrated learning, where our students have to go out into industry and into schools? So those are my concerns. But when I see the faces of the students, I realize we have to find solutions, and quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Hanley. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Nicola, Alana, Neil, for creating this opportunity for us all, and for the think piece. I really almost want to say, sorry, can you hear me again?
Yep.
For me, I think, okay, from our university where I am, there's a lot of pressure, and we've just received another email again of we need to be ready to run online by the 20th of April. And I think by the end of next week, they want to see our assessment strategy for this semester, and how we will calculate marks, and how we are going to do exams online, which obviously is creating a lot of questions. And I'm taking the data and device issue out of this, because that's something that we know exists, but at the moment I'm trying not to look into that when I'm planning. I think part of my biggest concern in all of this is, obviously most of us, or those of us that are part of the session, are the people with some form of educational background, academic development background, and interest in this. How do we help our colleagues who think I can create a 45-minute video, plonk it onto the learning management system, and I'm done? Or those people who don't understand how complicated it is to design this online learning or remote learning that is now required from us?
Yeah, indeed. And different institutions are advising differently. Some are, many are saying chunk it up, make it smaller, so that it's more accessible on mobile, advising smaller file size and those kinds of things. But yeah, it is still quite a curve, because our colleagues are not used to teaching in that way. I think we'll this will pop up again. Greg?
Thank you, Nicola. Hi, everyone. This is Greg from Wits University. I'm in the Commerce faculty, so I'm not part of the central support, but we do support for our Commerce faculty. In terms of the thought piece, I just want to pick up one point briefly, and that was in the kind of challenge in terms of moving online and kind of lecturers and academics wanting to replicate as much as possible. So trying to have those gentle conversations with lecturers that may be having, live sessions where you would normally have, using Zoom or Teams or whatever, having live sessions where you would normally have class time is perhaps not the best idea, and they maybe need to think about alternatives rather than just saying, okay, we're doing this remotely, so let's move our classes online and have kind of virtual sessions all the time. So I think that's quite a good area of discussion that comes out of the thought piece, and also aligns, I think just generally the thought piece aligns very well with the guidelines that we've been giving to our academics in terms of the things that they need to think about. If I can just pick up briefly, one other thing was just in terms of from the other institutions, in terms of supporting your academics, something that I'd like to discuss, maybe we can talk about it later or maybe in another session, was just in terms of what's working, what's not working in terms of support for your academics, in terms of helping them through this process. I know for myself and my colleague Fiona, the last 2 weeks have been an incredible whirlwind, helping and supporting academics and getting them into this kind of area of uncertainty and push towards remote lecturing without a lot of time. So if anyone has any ideas or sharing practices about what's working or what's not working for them in terms of supporting the academics, that would be really helpful for us.
Thanks, Greg. Just to first pick up on what's not working, I think that the assumption that the lecturers can just put the offline courses online is going to result in a lot of content dumping and lack of engagement on the part of the students and a lot of confusion and frustration. And so that's one of the major challenges, I think, is that that lecturers are not properly trained. Most of them are not properly trained. Let's just take out of the equation that many of them are not comfortable working online. If we just take the training and the experience aspect, as many of them are not trained in online teaching and learning, and so student engagement becomes an issue. And I do worry that that is going to lead to a lot of frustration. It is, I think, to a large extent already. What has been working is that we've been using the Blackboard Collaborate tool to meet with lecturers online face-to-face, where they actually can see what we're doing and share our screens and do the training online for them. We then record that and then provide them with a recording as well, so that they can have something more tangible to work with. It's not ideal, but it is something that that is a workaround for the current context.
Thanks, Alana. And then I see someone who's indicated an M is Abeku. Please go for it, Abeku. Are you able to connect your mic, Abeku?
Okay, do you hear me now?
Perfectly, go for it.
Good, good, good. Thank you, Nicola and Neil, for putting this together. It's very useful. I'm calling from Ghana Technology University College. My name is Abeku Blankson, and I'm the vice president here. Two things that I just want to share. The training aspect of the lecturers is very important, and we actually did that prior to starting. What I realized that, in academia, most of us have resisted online teaching and learning for a long time, but this pandemic has actually opened our eyes to the fact that it's come to stay with us, so we have to get on board. but our lecturers actually bought into this and that. One of the challenges that I have, which I hope we can all address, is the lack of adequate focus on the students. We've seemed to agree or think that the students' needs are only connectivity issues. And therefore, most of the conversations that I've heard about is how do they get connected to the whole thing? But from questions I'm getting with students, a lot of them actually have no idea their usage of social media is not for learning purposes. And so now we've thrown them into these learning platforms, and we say, go and learn with that. And all we are doing is connecting them to those kind of technology. So I would hope that part of our discussion will also look at what do we tell our students? What kind of orientation do we give our students? What kind of resources are out there that we can even send to our students so that they can also actually use these technologies effectively for their learning? And I think that is the part that I think it's missing in these discussions that we have been involved in, or the focus on students. We focused a lot on teachers, but not enough on our students.
Thank you, Abeku. Yeah, I think that's a very important reflection. We've got to think about our students, and that should be guiding how we go about things. I think we've got, let's have, I see SJ has indicated you want to take the mic, and then Samantha. Go for it, guys.
Thanks a lot. Yes, I think somebody have mentioned in something, and I just want to agree with Abeku, is it's not only connectivity that is a problem with our students. A lot of students don't even have a computer or a laptop at home. And yeah, although they said they have access with cell phones, you must also focus on what can you do with a specific, on a cell phone or with a cell phone. And then the other thing is also the connectivity of lecturers. I know one of my colleagues is currently, where he's at home currently, he can't access any content from there. So what is going to happen with those particular lecturers where lecturers don't have access to internet for setting up their classes?
Not sure if we lost Nicola again, but we had, who was the next person that Nicola said could take the mic?
Samantha.
Samantha. Yeah,
Hi.
Samantha.
Hi, so this is Samantha Sampson. I'm from Stellenbosch University. Full disclosure, I am one of those people who does not have a great deal of educational development background. My primary role is research. And so one of those people who really has been thrown into the deep end on this. But my comment really is, I tend to try to see the positive side in things, and actually some of the things that people have said already is picking up on this, in that there are actually opportunities here. And I've certainly encountered this resistance to lecturers on moving to an online platform, and here's an opportunity to do that, although it's not by choice. And then, of course, moving to an asynchronous style of content delivery, I think this is, again, an opportunity to do that. But I think the thing for me that I'm seeing as the biggest positive here is people being forced to rethink assessments, and particularly in our teaching space. So I coordinate a submodule on a postgraduate honors course. And I've had enormous frustration over the past years with how people approach assessments on this, but now we're really being forced to think outside of the box. And I think it's really an opportunity to push those assessments to ones that are more appropriate to what we want the students to take away from the course. So I guess my message is, this is a huge challenge. We're all struggling with this and many other things at the same time, but there are opportunities here as well. And I think that's what we need to hold on to. And then just a final comment to pick up on what Abeku and others have said. I think it's really critical that we don't forget the students in this. Yes, the technical issues are there, but I think we really need to go out of our way to be communicating with them and showing them that they're still part of this learning community. I think that's so, so important at the moment. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Alana, do you want to say something? And folks, please type in if you want to take the mic.
Yeah, I've just been browsing through the different messages in the chat, and I just see that one of the suggestions and one of the things that Stellenbosch is doing, according to Mel, is that they're moving all of the major practicals and everything to 2021, and that they are, you know, it's the supplement webinars with online resources and run series of webinars and so on. You know, I think that we do really, just reflecting on that, I really do think that we need to think out of the box. So we can't do things in the same way as what we have been doing, and I think that we really perhaps need to burn the box because currently trying to push everything into an online environment in the same way that it was being done in a offline or face-to-face environment just isn't necessarily a good thing.
Hi, Nicola, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly, go for it.
Hi, I've also been following the chat. Hi, everybody. Yeah, what can I say? We're all in the same boat here. The first point I want to make, and I saw somebody made it in the chat as well, is how important it's going to be flexible. Very difficult toss-up kind of between trying to retain what we had planned before and now all of a sudden moving into a whole different space. So again, I think we need to be very flexible and very understanding also with lecturers and ourselves in terms of this whole drive to take entire universities and like thousands of modules online all of a sudden. I think it's unrealistic to think we're going to be able to do that in an academically and educationally sound way. So that being said, what I want to put into the conversation is let's think about the possibilities and the opportunities as well that's coming from this whole, if I can say, crisis. Just this morning, we had a chat here at Stellenbosch in the staff development, teaching development, whatever you want to call it, support center. And we had a long chat about a university decision yesterday, or kind of a suggestion that our mid-year exams all go online. So we're grappling with that, and then all of the issues around fairness, reliability, etc., connectivity. So each one of those issues we're trying to unpack, and we are grappling with them, and luckily we're fairly well resourced in our university, so we are privileged in that way, to put it out straight. But we also, as academic developers, we are thinking immediately, you know, what are the possibilities here? Say with online exams, and because it's not possible in a practical way to, in a practical sense, to take a planned sit-down exam and just throw it online and run it as you would have run it, you know, otherwise. It's an opportunity for us to encourage academics to move from the testing culture, you know, discourse and approach, closer to thinking about the learning. You know, why is it that I want to give my students a test? Why do I want to give them a 3-hour exam paper? And we see it as an ideal opportunity to really push that idea now. I mean, we've been at it for many, many, many years, trying to make that shift. So we think that just possibly there's a little bit of a door that's opening for us there. That's just one example of an opportunity and a possibility to engage academics in different kinds of conversations, different approaches, and so on. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to add to the conversation.
Thank you, Melanie. Please type M if you'd like to take the mic. I see there's great debates and discussions happening in the chat, and maybe you're reading a lot faster or differently from me. Okay, go for it, Alana.
Yes, I just want to, I'm sitting here and smiling as I'm listening to Mel's points that she's made, simply because I am currently head of assessment at Fort Hare, and the drive to focus assessment on learning as opposed to only use assessment for it to be assessment of learning rather as learning has been something that we've been fighting for many, many years. And so I do think that this is a great opportunity. And I do think that that the focus on continuous assessment throughout, as opposed to and focus on knowledge and competency and you know, engagement is key. And it's a fight that we've been fighting because the model of education has been so entrenched for such a long time. And so I just want to highlight that the impact that this is possibly a massive opportunity to change the way teaching and learning happens from an assessment point of view.
Thanks, Alana. And I see Roz, you wanted to take the mic.
Hi,
Rosalind?
everyone. Yeah, hi, everyone, and thank you for a wonderful session. I think for academic development is really a wonderful opportunity to engage with staff on a very different level. For me, I've actually been thrown into the deep end because online learning isn't really something that I was very comfortable with, but it meant me coming out of my comfort zone to help others. So it is a wonderful opportunity. For me, what is concerning is the silence. There's lots of silence from academics and silence from students. And how do we engage with the staff that are silent? And I know at some institutions, and I don't know what's happening across institutions, but in some institutions, staff are working from home. But I know at DUT, staff have been asked to take vacation leave. So this for some means that they don't work some people feel that they shouldn't work when they are on leave. So it's because it's an enforced leave. Some staff have indicated that they were very happy working with these students just at the beginning of this crisis. And then when it was locked down, they were asked to take their vacation leave. And my other concern is how are we engaging students? So how can we engage students? What are the students' voices? What are they saying about what's happening currently in higher education? Thank you.
Thank you, Roz. Neil, perhaps you want to say something, or anyone else want to take the mic? But I think let's hand over to Neil so long.
Yeah, while we're waiting for somebody else to take over, for the next person to type in, I think there's a lot of conversation that's happening around assessment, and I'm sorry I'm taking us back to that one, but I mean, my inbox is continuously getting every now and then this one lone email of a lecturer sitting there, and you can hear the angst in the email. How am I going to let my students write this test? And you know, the sad part is we don't know yet. I think that's one thing we have to acknowledge, is that we don't know. But also, as Melanie has said, there is this great opportunity to rethink assessment, you know, and moving away from from that new liberal idea of you need to write to show that you know stuff so that we can give you more money based on where you set up on some form of ranking system. But you know, it's just a space where we need to be, I think we need to try and convey that this is fluid and that it's not going to change. And I mean, the simple idea of a take-home test is even problematic in itself. Do I give it to you on a Friday and I require you to submit it Monday, right? Or do I give it to you Monday and I require you to submit it Friday? Just those basic decisions are going to be complex. If we give people an hour or two, it's also bringing up issues around connectivity, capability, digital literacies. I think we just have to completely rethink and step away from any ideas or preconceptions we have to actually, you know, take a look at it. And then there was some talk about proctoring, and I mean, proctoring as well, it's something that I looked into a year or two ago, and geez, we tried to find that one product that's going to work, and it's unfortunate that it works with software, because software is made to do only one thing, and that's half of it needs a specific system setup. So you might not get a proctoring system where you can have people writing tests on a basic mobile smartphone, a tablet, a computer, a desktop out of 1940. You know, there's all these complexities that just comes in, and then of course the cost is just ridiculous. That's why Bill Gates is a billionaire and we're not. But yeah, anybody else? I see M's. Nicola, I don't know if I've missed the first M. Yeah.
I think let's have Abeku for now, and then I'll go down and look for more M's.
Okay, awesome.
Abeku, go for it.
You can take the mic.
All right, thank you once again. Another issue that I have here is the concept of flexibility. We've heard this over and over, we need to be flexible, it's new and all of that. And I think what is confusing some of us is that how do we balance flexibility whilst at the same time maintaining the rigor and the standards in these courses as we move them online? And I think we haven't had any serious guidelines on that, because even though, yes, there's a need for flexibility, we cannot also jeopardize the standards that we've already set in the classroom. And also bear in mind that one of the key concerns that skeptics and critics of online learning and teaching is that there's always this assumption that, oh, it's a watered down product. And therefore, the danger for us to slip into that and give more ammunition to them now, especially now that we have a lot of faculty who we've pushed into going to do this on their own, that may give those skeptics more tools to even criticize online education more. So we need to tease out what is flexibility, and what are the trade-offs, because there are some non-negotiables when it comes to maintaining academic rigor in your courses. So the concept of flexibility, I've read a lot about it, but there's no still clarity on what can you be flexible on or in, and what is it that is non-negotiable as we move to these online platforms. And so one example is these practical courses, project-based courses and all of that, and there's still uncertainty about what those lecturers who teach those courses should be doing online. How do you teach your project-based course online, or your practicals, labs, and all of that, even though there are virtual labs? Of course, in our part of the world, these are very hard to get. And so I've had questions about that. Okay, Prof, I teach these courses, I don't know how to, so does that mean now I have to change all my questions into, multiple true, false questions and all of that? I said, no. But these are questions that are out there, because we keep telling them, well, be flexible with your students, work with them and all of that. What does that mean? So maybe you guys can help us by clarifying some of these ideas also for us. Thank you.
Phew, that's a big one. I think Abeku, no one really has a clear answer to that. And I guess we're all still sorting things, thinking through things. I mean, even myself, I've been adapting some materials for online orientation for students. And I just realized, I had this aha moment where I just thought, actually, this is not the case for our students. Being able to have a dedicated space where you can say, this is your study space, and make sure you work there every day, that is just not realistic. So flexibility, it got me thinking about, it means different things for our students. This idea that you have the freedom of when and where you're studying might not be true for all. Frank, I see you want to take the mic. Please go for it.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, that's Frank. Hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly. Go for it, Frank.
Yes, I want to thank everybody on here, especially my Vice President, Professor Jacob Langston, who spoke before me. Yes, I think these are things that resonate with us. I read the piece, and I particularly liked the part about taking pressure off ourselves. Somebody has made a point about, what we're experiencing now is not really online learning, but emergency remote teaching. And I think that distinction should be made very clear. We shouldn't be hard on ourselves, because there are various open educational resources that are currently available. We could go through some of them, help us to adjust, and then give what works currently, because the aim primarily is to ride out the academic year. I heard somebody saying we should put assessment and exam as a back burner for now. Yes, so the goal now is to help to ensure that we steer the academic year to an end. I think most institutions have about 5 weeks or so to deal with that. So I encourage a lot of people to also look out for very quality OER. There are various ways of evaluating the qualities of OERs, and we can look at some of these that align with what we teach, and that should be helpful for us in the time being. So in the long term, we could do proper planning, proper learning design, so that we can do online teaching in its purest form. Thank you very much.
I love that. That's exactly what we've been doing, sort of reusing and adapting OERs. And I think that's the key, is not just the using, but the adapting. So I really, I like that advice. Basit Tarem, would you like to take the mic? I'm sorry if I didn't say your name right.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Perfectly, go for it.
Yeah, you see, for me, I'm from Cape Peninsula University of Technology. We have roughly closer to almost like majority of our students, they don't have resources to start with. And then in the same way, the lectures themselves, they're not capacitated with resources to be able to deliver the lectures. Then before we even go to assessment, our greatest challenge first for us is how do we deliver these lectures to the learners, and so that they are accessible to all the students before we even come to the point of assessment. Because that is the greatest challenge that we are still facing at this moment, because we've been trying to do things like Zoom to record some videos, share them on WhatsApp group, and then some students get it, but some of them are not, and we cannot have access to 100% access to everyone. And at the end, we found that we end up creating digital divide among our learners, because those who can access it, they get access to the lectures, and those who cannot, then they are left behind, and no one have a plan for them. Then that is the great challenge that I am in now. Even to think of assessment before I even know how am I going to deliver the lecture is the most difficult, critical point for me. And also the course that I teach is not as easy as a normal lecture. It's like mathematics. You need to be engaging, writing down. And then even if you deliver the mathematics by PowerPoint, it's still not really effective to deliver a course like mathematics on PowerPoint when there's no engagement or solving those kind of problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Basi. Who else would like to take the mic? Let's see. There's so many great. Greg, I see you typed an M.
Yes,
go ahead.
Nicola, I just want to go back to your point about using OERs. And I see actually Tony is busy now writing in the address for UCT. So if you haven't seen the UCT site for remote teaching, please have a look at that because it's really, really great. And what I really appreciate most about it, so thank you, Tony and colleagues, is that all of the resources are openly licensed. So we've been using some of those resources at our university and adapting them to suit our needs. So it's really fantastic. There's a lot of, not just UCT, but a lot of other international universities as well, in terms of using OERs, is they're seeing what others have been developing and adapting them for your own institution is really great. And I know, yes, Nicola, I know Rhodes has been doing the same.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, we acknowledge your current situation. So Bongani saying he's got 2 small kids with him now. I know, Alana, you've had a busy time working from home and 3 kids at the same time. Yes, we will be able to share the recording. Hi, Sarah. Alana, you want to say something about working remotely from home?
Yes, I think that ultimately something's got to give, because the challenge of being a wife and a mother and trying to work from home, and the schools are also the schools also now have expectations of keeping up to date with the material that's being sent out. So I think actually, if you think about, we're talking about the digital divide. The digital divide is not just in higher education, but similarly, you know, the schools where parents are paying attention and who are able to educate their children during this time, you know, set aside time and try and structure some sort of homeschool environment. And then, you know, what then happens is that the parents are having to, you know, take time out of the day and then are working late at night, and it actually is not really a tenable situation. So I think that, you know, one of the points that we made was to be kind to ourselves and to each other. And yeah, so there's a few things there. The one is, you know, the digital divide is going well beyond higher education at the moment. And the demands on us in terms of flexibility is also quite challenging to manage. So, you know, when we talk about taking a human approach, or, you know, humanizing approach, I think it goes beyond just the lecturers and you know, the lecturers and the students.
Thanks, Alana. Sue, perhaps you want to take the mic. You've made an interesting point here.
Thanks, Nicola. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, Tony's saying the syllabus doesn't disappear. It should be taught very differently, indeed. But the point is that for many of our students, and I think this is not, I'm not trying to blame students here. I think this is the culture of our schooling and our universities. For many of our students, if I haven't got my textbook, if I haven't got Zoom to access the lessons, then education stops. Because we've so inscribed in our students the idea that education is to get through the syllabus, to pass the assessments, to get the certificate. And there are all sorts of reasons for that. But there are very few spaces in our university that are genuinely about creativity and criticality and learning for the love of learning. I think we often speak that kind of language, but we don't genuinely invest it in our very being and in our very engagement with students. And so that's part of the reason, one small part, but part of the reason why students have been feeling so adrift. I mean, there's all sorts of other reasons, but I think that we need to question the extent to which we are genuinely imbuing in students just a love of learning and an opportunity to use this space beyond the structure of a syllabus to do some really interesting, out-of-the-box kind of learning. and maybe I'm sounding a bit Pollyanna-ish, but I'm very concerned that there's many, many reasons, but one of the reasons our students are feeling adrift is because they have been trained to see education as credentialing.
Thanks, Sue. So maybe we should be encouraging our students in future when we go back to face-to-face mode to indulge in some things like MOOCs, so massive open online courses and extracurricular kinds of learning. Let's see who else wants to take the mic. Rita, how about you? You've been typing a lot in the text chat.
Yeah, I've been finding this side useful, but it is so pleasing to hear so many voices and so many different opinions on the various things, and I'm so glad that we were able to open up the space for everybody concerned. And I think, yeah, like Sue, I think it's very important that in this rush to get what is called the syllabus completed.
Rita, could you come closer to your mic?
Oh, sure. Sorry, have I been breaking up? Is this better?
Much better, thanks.
Okay, great. So what I've been saying firstly is that thank you for hosting the space. Thank you for everybody joining the space. The other thing I want to move on to is exactly what Sue is saying. I mean, that syllabus. And the idea is tomorrow going to be normal? Should the syllabus remain as is? Do we teach to that syllabus? And yet we're aiming for self-directed learning in most of our qualification aims. So how do we move towards that? Yeah, and think differently around what we see as a curriculum for qualification. Should it be done in this piecemeal, course-isolated, recurriculating, as we are saying, and moving online? Thanks.
Thanks, Rita. I just realized how, all the reflections shared via voice and in the chat, most of them are really going, thinking beyond technology. So it's great to hear that. Anyone else want to take the mic, share their perspective? And Bongani, I know you've been typing quite a bit. How about you take you said you've got your kids with you, so, but if you do feel ready, maybe type M into the text chat. Anyone else want to take the mic?
Nicola?
Yes, go for it.
Gerard du Plessis this side. I noticed the veering away from technology discussion, which I don't have a problem with, but I think it needs to be highlighted that we are stuck with the bandwidth group. We cannot do much about that. We need to think beyond that. And if we think of all different alternatives, even going back to broadcasting, SABC style, or radio, or the costly paper-based channel, if you want to transcend that and you want to do streaming, you once again hit the stumbling block of bandwidth, data, technology access, signal access, ICT access to students, knowledge on how to do that. And then I'm not even referring to lecturers struggle with that. I miss the debate at national level other than the negotiations with service providers. If any single university tries to address this, we're going to learn the same lessons at quite a cost, substantially so, to transcend the bandwidth issue. I do not see national fund schemes for all students to gain access to technology. The chats with the ISPs are failing, according to my latest. It's not going to hit the target. And we need to look at alternatives to transcend the access barriers. And I do not have an answer for this. I've had a look at alternatives, moving back to broadcasting and the likes, and it's so expensive. My experience with that at the University of Pretoria many years ago, it actually closed down our satellite transmissions because of the cost. What at national level should and could be done, because I see a clear veering away of any form of engagement to address the type of solution that would afford or be beneficial to all institutions other than the bandwidth issue and the data issue. There's no other debate on this. Where are we going with this? That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very good one. Perhaps, Neil, you want to talk about, you were also mentioning about going back to, printed materials, even though that's like difficult, at this time and not an area where we've got expertise in. It has come up in our space. So maybe Neil, you wanna share something about that?
Nicola, I think Neil's left.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, sorry. Me versus Chelsea. Yeah, I think these type of debates are, and I'm actually thinking hopefully happening at some form of larger level where there needs to be this type of plans. I did a little bit of research. Well, if we have to go paper-based for, let's say, 20% of our students, the cost would just be so exorbitant. We could nearly look at buying a laptop and putting a laptop or a smartphone in everybody's hands that would be able to deal with this. Then I looked at another option to say, well, how do we do it where we could send the information in some form of soft, upload it onto the phone, or in some form of USB. Then just the practicality of time that becomes complex. And then just from a pedagogical point of view, we're struggling to move to this remote space. Now we want to move to a very much distance online, offline, old UNISA model. And it takes them six months to actually work this out with a full team of instructional designers working on some of these modules. So, wow, I'm not sure if any one of us is really going to be ready to do that and turn that around in a very short time. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are up in the air, and I think this is the reality. I think that we need to be prepared for things shifting quickly. I've been in conversations with other universities where they've looked at what are we going to do if this happens. Some have been talking to the suppliers, if there is some form of central funding that would become available, how quickly will we be able to put a device in everybody's hands? And it's still going to take 3 to 4 weeks to get it into remote areas. That's if we have the physical devices ready and going. So there's a lot of movement either which way we go. So yeah, but yeah, enough hogging the mic from us.
Thanks, Neil. So I noticed, some folks are saying they've got to leave. Please feel free to leave if you need to, if you have another online meeting. We thank you for your presence and for sharing your perspective, whether this was via the text chat or via the mic. So Kasturi, I see, has got an interesting point here. Based on engagement, could we write an open letter? I think that's an interesting idea. Maybe you want to tell us something about that, Kasturi? Okay, so see, she said just a suggestion. Okay, and Myrtle. Okay, you need to leave. Great. I see many folks need to leave, but thank you for joining us for this conversation. Alana, any last words?
Just to say that I really enjoyed the discussion, really enjoyed the engagement, and I think if anything is clear is that we are very much in the same boat, regardless of the type of institution that we're at, and I think that perhaps if I can just the last word is for us to use these connections, those of us at those who are at under-resourced or less resourced or less ready institutions, to draw on the likes of the resources that have been posted here, and also just to feel free to engage with our colleagues and develop this collaborative learning community that we are putting into practice now.
Thanks, Alana. Neil, any last words?
Just thank you everybody who could join us for this session. It's too sad that we can't see each other face to face, but it's part of the game at the moment. I know everybody must feel like I feel zoomed out. But yeah, just good luck with the next weeks forward, and let's maybe keep this space going if anybody's keen. And yeah, just thank you for joining, and be safe.
Yeah, indeed. Hope everyone keeps well. We will try and deepen this discussion, and we'll email you and also share by our HELTASA social media about possible ways forward. So have a good day further on your day 7 of lockdown in South Africa. Yeah. And thanks again for joining us. Bye for now.